My name's Gethin Davis. I'm Senior Project Manager for the LIFE Celtic Rainforest Project. It's a European funded project funded by the European Commission's LIFE Nature and Biodiversity Programme, led on by the Eryri National Park Authority in conjunction with RSPB and Coed Cadw. And it brings together a host of organisations who have a shared desire to improve the conservation status of the temperate rainforests here in Wales. One of the main threats to the temperate rainforest is the invasive non-native species Rhododendron ponticum. We're here today on the site called Rhododendron, just above Nant Gwynant in North Eryri. It's an area where there is dense rhododendron that has recently been treated by an external contractor in order to help us achieve our objective of eradicating rhododendron from the area. Rhododendron ponticum originally comes from much warmer climates and drier climates than here we have in Eryri, and has proved over the years to be a very popular plant amongst gardeners due to its attractive pink flower or purple flower when in bloom. However, the wet and humid conditions found here in Eryri was an ideal substrate for Rhododendron ponticum to grow on. What we have seen over decades is the expansion of rhododendron from domestic gardens into the wild. This is a massive issue as it can often take over native and natural habitats that we find here in Eryri, such as the temperate rainforests, suppressing native flora and forming a dense shade under which very little can exist. Its biological value in comparison to native species is low, and therefore it is essential that we take action to try and get rid of the Rhododendron ponticum in order to better the quality of the habitat for native species. So we're here today in Rhododendron above Nant Gwynant, and it's an area where over the last 20 to 30 years the National Park Authority, working alongside partners such as the National Trust, have undertaken an extensive programme of works aimed at eradicating Rhododendron ponticum. However, there still remain certain areas or parcels where the rhododendron was dense, including here in Rhododendron. Therefore, through the LIFE project, it was key that we went about getting rid of rhododendron from this particular area in order to complement and finish off the work that had been done here historically. This is an area of dense rhododendron that was treated some months ago using herbicide. As you can see, the success rate of the work has been very high, and we always aim with our first phase of work to achieve a 90 to 95% kill rate. But of course, you're never going to get every plant in one go, and that's why it's really important that we operate a three-phase approach to Rhododendron ponticum. The first phase, or the attack phase as we call it, where the bulk of the work is done, but then also two follow-on phases of work, some 18 months and then 4 years after that initial phase, in order to get the rhododendron that was missed or any subsequent regrowth. It's therefore important when you're planning any rhododendron contracts that you factor in the costs and resources for 3 phases of work, and that's over a 5-year period if you're going to successfully eradicate rhododendron from a given area.
So my name's Gwion and I work on the Celtic Rainforest Project as an assistant officer, and simply my job is to give out rhododendron contracts, so that we're trying to eradicate the invasive species Rhododendron ponticum. So as you can see behind me here, we have a batch of treated rhododendron, so and it's been stem injected. So in the plant here you can see some holes, so that's what one of the methods of treating rhododendron is to stem inject the plant. So the contractor will just put some holes into the stem and then put some herbicide inside the holes, and then the plant will take up that herbicide and then eventually within 3 to 4 months die off. So that's one of the methods that the contractors use. Other methods can be to spray the leaves of the plants. This is normally used when the plant is roughly 1.5 meters in height or less. And then the other method potentially could be just to pull out by hand. If the plants are really small, then the contractor can just pull it out with the hand. And then if you have a really dense patch of rhododendron, you can cut the rhododendron down if it's too hard for the contractor to reach every stem. So in some areas we've cut down the rhododendron and then come back to treat any regrowth that has come back from the rhododendron. So the process of treating rhododendron and getting an actual contractor on site can take quite a bit of time. So in the first instance, you have to find out who owns the land that you want to treat the rhododendron, and then you have to get their permission to be able to treat the rhododendron on their land. And then it's a case of doing an assessment of the site, so to see how much rhododendron is actually on the site, how dense it is, and if there is any dangers on site or anything that the contractor should know of in terms of how hard it is to get into the site, the access, the slope, if there's any rope work required, if there's any cliff edges, if there's any public footpaths that go through the area. They need to know all this in advance. And then it's a case of bringing the contractor out onto site so they can see the site. So there's been many challenges whilst doing the project. One of the challenges that we have found is that landowners have refused us to do any work on their land, and this unfortunately still creates a seed source for rhododendron. So if we have treated one site but the landowner next door has refused us to treat the rhododendron, then there's still that seed source that can come in to the site that we have treated. So that's one of the challenges we've had.
Hello, my name is David Jones. I'm a project officer on the LIFE Celtic Rainforest Project. The toolkit is an information pack that summarises about 30 years of knowledge by the authority, and it basically takes you through the whole process of assessing a site, preparing to put the work out with a contractor, and monitoring the site. The toolkit is suitable for anybody really, even if they're just looking after a couple of rhododendron bushes at the bottom of the garden, or if they're a large national conservation body wanting to treat a whole valley. It takes you through the whole process and helps you factor in different aspects of the job. The toolkit can be found on our website.